speak to Laura O'Brien, a senior lecturer in modern European history at Northumbria University. Hello to you. Laura, can you frame this for us? First of all, I mean, I know the French are very proud about Notre Dame, but what is the national and architectural significance of this cathedral?
Well, I think it's obviously, a marvel of the Gothic period, a marvel of Gothic architecture. And of course, it's only one of a number of these extraordinary buildings built across France and across Europe in the Middle Ages. I think Notre Dame's significance in terms of the global reputation that it has and the world reputation that it has and the emotion that the fire and now the restoration has evoked is in part not so much about necessarily the architectural wonder of it, although things like the rose window, the beautiful soaring arches and so on are all very important. But I think it's about the image of it as a part of Paris and at the heart of this city that is such a globally important city, such a globally important symbol. And I think that's why, today is a very important day. This is a very important weekend, and it's quite an emotional weekend for a lot of people to see this building literally come out of the ashes and be restored in such an extraordinarily short space of time and to such an extraordinary standard.
Yeah, and that standard, when you look at these images, we don't think of it as Gothic. It is gleaming. All that grime that was there has been cleaned away, and it's almost unrecognizable, but this is what it probably looked like when it was first completed. And I think the scope of history, I think it's helpful to point out that Notre Dame was built before any country in North America, South America, or Africa was even founded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost 1,000 years old, which is an extraordinary thing to think about, that this is a 1,000-year-old, almost 1,000-year-old building that still evokes such a power, has such a powerful pull for so many millions of people all around the world. And I think one of the most important things about the restoration was that emphasis on returning to some of the original techniques that were used. For example, most notably in restoring the forest, the roof structure known as the forest, with those beautiful oak beams, and putting those back in place in exactly the same way with the same techniques as they would have been in the Middle Ages. Of course, it's important to remember that Notre Dame has not been untouched before the fire. This is only one of several restoration processes and several changes that have happened to the building over the course of its very long life. And one of the joys, I think, of the building is the fact that you can see those layers and layers of history within the different parts of it, whether that's the more modern aspects, such as the new designs for the ecclesiastical furniture, the altar, and so on, whether that's Viollet-le-Duc's contributions in the 19th century, during the major restoration process that took 20 years at that time, or whether that's some of the 18th century paintings, the 17th century sculptures, and so on. For me, the fact that it is not just this untouched, never changed medieval building, I think is a testament to its human importance and the fact that it is ultimately a building for and of the people.
Yeah, and some of those changes that were made might have been controversial at the time, but at least today, decades on, we don't think anything of it. These these traditional techniques you're discussing, the fact that this happened in France, France is very proud of these traditions. How do they use artisan techniques married with today's modern technology?
I think one of the things that has been, I think, as you said, we heard in the report about 2,000 people working over 2,000 days. And it's been an incredible opportunity, not just for people who are already skilled artisans, to carpenters, stonemasons, the people who work on stained glass windows, the people who restore the gilding work and so on, not just for the master craftsmen, but also for bringing on another generation of expert French craftspeople. And I think Notre Dame, in a way, the restoration, although obviously the burning of the cathedral was incredibly devastating and in many ways quite a traumatic thing to witness, there is a sort of a positive to come out of it in the sense of it's created this new generation of skilled tradespeople and skilled crafts to carry those crafts forward into other restoration projects. And also from an academic perspective, the fact that the building was closed for 5 years, once it was secured, people could go back in and actually uncover new things, do research on the structure of the building. Kind of the fact that you have to take it apart and put it back together again allows architects, art historians, archaeologists to really get a feel for the fabric of the building in a way that maybe hadn't been done for a long time or hadn't been done before, using modern technology to create new images and to document the building in this new way.
Last week, French President Emmanuel Macron visited Notre-Dame. He thanked the artisans personally there. Later today, he's going to be giving a speech. What tone does he need to strike, and what does he need to say? It's a very different setting now with these world leaders on hand.
I think it's really interesting, and it's a very important opportunity for Macron here, not least in the context of a week in which a government has been essentially, lost a vote of no confidence, and where he is hoping to perhaps use this as an opportunity to bolster his own popularity. I think what's useful for Macron is that he was the person who said, we will rebuild it in 5 years, and now he can say,
we could.
Did it.
I want to do one more.
And I think that's, for him, I think he will strike a note of hope. I think one of the things he has said before is that the fire was a terrible shock, but now the reopening is a shock, and a shock of hope. It's a shock of hope and of resilience, I think, in a world where this doesn't necessarily seem to be in common supply. Apparently the theme of his speech is going to be around the art of being French. So he's clearly going to tie Notre Dame and its restoration to some of these French themes about French artisans, French craftsmanship, but also the history and the heritage of this very French and very Parisian building as a global icon. I suspect that he will, use it for all that it's worth in terms of sort of boosting the image of France and boosting his own image, I think, as the person who as he would like people to think, made this happen, essentially.
Indeed. One final question, Laura. Are you planning to visit? And if so, what aspect of this new Notre Dame, if you will, are you most excited to see?
Yeah, I can't wait. 5 years ago, in April 2019, I wept when I saw it burning. I thought I would not get back in for a very, very long time. I've worked in the building, I've researched in its archives. For me, I think I would like to see the stained glass, and I would like to see the colour coming through the stained glass again, because seeing the stained glass taken out during the restoration process was kind of strange. You see this wooden frames propping up the window frames. So for me, if I can just stand there in the central nave and see the light come through the rose window, for me, that's going to be a very, very special and a very emotional moment, I think.
Laura, thank you very much for your time. Laura O'Brien.
Thank you.